Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime, your online voice for reviews of your choice, and welcome to another special BS list. Well, you've seen my list for the top 12 worst movies of 2010. Now it's time to go to the other end of the spectrum and to reveal my top 12 best films of 2010. Why top 12? Because I like to go 2 steps higher than normal, and 12 is my lucky number. Now, just a recap of certain things. 1, there will be no trailers used in this video because I don't want to get slammed by copyright, so I'll just be using posters like I did with my worst movies list. 2, these are my personal choices from what I thought were the best films of 2010. Let's get on with my choice for the top 12 best films of 2010.
It's the final countdown. The final countdown.
Number 12, Tron Legacy. I know a lot of people said this film didn't really have any kind of spark or any emotional depth, and it was boring at several points in the film, but being from someone who's never seen the original Tron and just had no real interest in seeing it, I was really surprised at how good this movie was. I mean, it was visually unlike any other movie, really. The use of graphics and special effects perfectly brought this weird virtual world into amazing life. They had some pretty good actors, especially excellent performances from Olivia Wilde and Jeff Bridges. I loved the music. It was unfreaking believable. Daft Punk did the entire soundtrack, and it just made this soundtrack a must-have for me. And I just thought this movie was a great, fun ride. I thought this was a very entertaining movie, and I really enjoyed it. Number 11, The Wolfman. Yes, I know, everyone's surprised, because for some stupid-ass reason, everyone hated this movie. However, I didn't. In fact, I thought it was frickin' awesome. I loved it. I bought it the first day it came out. I really think this film didn't get a fair perspective. Love the acting here. You got Hugo Weaving, I love him, Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, all top-notch quality actors who gave very good performances. I love the whole dark gothic feel of this film, and I love the fact that they gave the Wolfman a much more savage and gory nature. I mean, the kill scenes were incredible. How they did it and how they used the creature and how he attacked and killed people seemed much more realistic as to what a Wolfman would do. And I thought that it made good use of the modern technology in bringing this monster to life, and I really enjoyed this film despite what anyone, any online or paper critic says. Number 10, Kick-Ass. I thought this movie was very disappointing, yet despite that, I have to admit it really was one of the best made films of this year. The acting and directing and cinematography with use of music was absolutely incredible. This was one of the most amazing looking films of this year. The last half of the movie got really retarded and way too comic booky, or goofy, I should say. And I really think Hit Girl is so overrated, and she has a stupid-ass name in my opinion. But despite all that, this movie had a brilliant concept. It was really well written. I love the actors and the costumes and just the use of violence. It really made the movie stand out, in my opinion. And while, again, I admit the last half was kind of a bleh, I still thought this was one of the best-made movies of this year. Number 9, Jackass 3D. It may seem insulting to have this be a movie on this list, but to be honest, I never laughed harder this entire year 2010 than through Jackass 3D. It was hilarious. The level of ingenuity and creativity in the stunts that they do just got funnier and funnier. And everything they did just made me laugh harder and harder. And above all else, this is one of the few movies that actually use 3D properly. I mean, it was actually totally worth the 3D. They made it funny, they made it interesting, and they definitely made good use of it. So I give them lots of credit for actually one of the few movies that uses 3D properly and making me laugh from start to finish. This is easily the best Jackass movie they have ever made. Number 8, The Social Network. I felt this movie kind of read too much like an autobiography. It just felt like they were just reading a book on tape and putting pictures in front of it. And I felt a lot of the characters lacked any kind of defining personality traits. But I have to agree with most people. This was an amazing film to watch. It was very well acted. The writing was absolutely flawless, detailed, descriptive, and deep, and it really showed an interesting and complex view of the creator of Facebook's life. You didn't make it clear cut whether he was just a total douchebag or a person who just got lost in all the shuffle of being famous and important. It was a really interesting movie with a creative concept, and just everything about it, from music, acting, and story to pacing, was just done in such perfect synchronization with everything else. Number 7, Get Him to the Greek. I thought this movie was friggin' hysterical, and it's funny because I didn't think much of it when I first saw the trailer. But after seeing it, I was so glad that I saw it because it really utilized the best of Russell Brand's unique humor and Jonah Hill. Granted, Jonah Hill and Russell Brand don't really play much outside of themselves, but for the situations they got in, the dialogue they had with the writing, and the use of such hilarious other people, Puff Daddy in here, it was just hilarious as hell. It was funny, it was really well executed with the jokes and the gags, and I love the fact that some of the songs that Russell Brand's Aldous Snow was actually singing actually sounded like real songs. And it's like, dude, you could totally sell a soundtrack like that because it sounds real, like a real band sort of thing. And I just love that ingenuity in having a fake band actually sound like a real band, and it was just really good. Number 6, How to Train Your Dragon. Admittedly, DreamWorks will never be as perfect as Pixar is, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. This movie was unbelievably imaginative, with very memorable, cute, and entertaining characters that captured the hearts and minds of everyone who pretty much saw it. Anyone who saw Toothless and Hiccup, slowly bonding together, and Dragon's amusing cat-like mannerisms just made the character easier to love and easier to watch. The flying scenes were absolutely breathtaking, and you could really feel like you were flying high up in the skies. And the use of the different species of dragons and the excellent cast of actors and characters, this was just a really wonderfully complete movie. This is probably some of the best stuff DreamWorks has put out since the original Shrek. Number 5, Iron Man 2. I have no freaking clue why everyone bitched and moaned about this movie, acting like it was so horrible compared to the first. Look, it is almost impossible for any sequel to top its predecessor. So, in here, I say Iron Man 2 was just as good as the original Iron Man. Why? Because it really had everything. It had a much more deeper relationship with Robert Downey Jr. and his other co-workers and characters. You have two great villains played brilliantly by Mickey Rourke and Sam Rockwell. So glad they finally introduced War Machine. The action sequences were incredible and very ingeniously implanted. I love the inclusion of the Avengers stuff. I don't care what anyone says. I think it just makes the comic book universe seem that much more bigger and that much more interesting in the plot. And I just thought this was a great, solid movie. And I loved especially the fight sequences between Whiplash and Iron Man. I just thought, I don't know why people could give this movie a bad rap. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. And I thought it was a very worthy sequel. Number 4 is Toy Story 3. Easily, if you ask me, the best Toy Story out of all three. And it is so rare to see a movie series that actually has top-notch quality films in every entry. 1, 2, 3 were all pretty much perfect. And this movie is no exception. I have never come close to tears in a CGI animated movie than I did with this movie. I mean, the ending sequence when you think they're all going to get smashed in garbage and you see them holding their hands and Andy leaving, it was all just extremely emotional and touching stuff. On top of that, this movie perfectly utilized all the toy characters and gave everyone a part or a role where they could be funny, they could be serious, and they made it interesting. I adored the relationship between Jessie and Buzz Lightyear. That just made it all the more fun and enjoyable to watch. And this just really was a magnificent film. I really think Pixar really just can't do no wrong. This film is so amazingly touching and beautiful that it really shows that they are the premier CGI animation company. Number 3, Black Swan. This is a very bizarre movie and from a very bizarre director. And I was so fascinated that they chose Natalie Portman for this role because it didn't seem like a part she could do, but she proved me wrong. This movie was definitely so far the best I've seen from the director Darren Aronofsky. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this movie was just so amazing. It was visually dark, disturbing. The atmosphere and the acting were very creepy and just downright weird. It really helped you feel what Natalie Portman's character was going through. And just the use of the dark imagery and the visuals just made this film even creepier and that much more effective. It's a very believable and acceptable mental breakdown. Number 2, Inception. Christopher Nolan is the shit. There is no doubt about that. After Dark Knight, this movie really solidified his awesomeness as a badass movie director. This is probably one of the most original, if not the most original film that came out this year. The ideas and concepts were just brilliantly brought to life. The actors were all incredible. You got top notch Joseph Gordon Levitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ken Watanabe. This is all just great actors for a great film. They really got this unique concept down to a perfect T, and it just blew me away how visually and intelligent and inventive this movie was. So creative and smart. So then, if the awesome Inception is number 2, what could possibly be number 1? Well, here it is. My number 1 best film of 2010, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I admit that this movie is an adaptation to a graphic novel opposed to Inception being an original idea, but still, this movie was just freaking amazing. There is no other way to describe it. It's absolutely amazing. There is literally no other movie like this movie in the world. Visuals and unique video game style and the humor and just the special effects they use are unbelievable. It creates a movie genre in all of its own and just brought it to life in such perfect fashion that you couldn't help but laugh your ass off and be amazed at the ridiculous yet amazingly cool stuff they just kept throwing at you. The actors were used in perfect manner. I mean, you got hilarious cameos from Thomas Jane, Chris Evans, Brandon Routh. I mean, just everyone in here was a freaking riot, and it was just an amazingly well-made movie. Music, the acting, the writing, the dialogue, the humor, it was all perfect, spot on. And above all else, it deserves far more credit than everyone gave it. This movie tanked at the box office, and it's a true shame because this, to me, was the masterpiece of 2010. May have been based off a comic book or whatever, but it doesn't change to me that this was the best made film in terms of every single aspect you could make a movie about. Story, characters, music, visual, cinematography, it was all frickin' phenomenal. Well, that's my list for my top 12 best movies of 2010. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye for now.